Somehow, it has already been a full month since I first got my hands on the Oppo Find N5, and during that month, my SIM has been in this phone pretty much the entire time. There might have been like 2 or 3 days where my SIM was in the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, but then there was an update on this phone, so I was back over here and I just haven't left. In this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically give you an update. Since I posted my full review about a week in, has anything changed? Have my thoughts shifted about this device? And spoiler alert, I wouldn't be making this video if some things had not shifted and changed, if my thoughts had not evolved on the phone. So that being said, 1 month later, this is the Oppo Find N5. So the first thing I think we need to do is just quickly check in on the hardware. Have my thoughts or feelings changed? Has this thing began to show any signs of wear? So first off, this thing continues to have absolutely immaculate hardware. It is one of the nicest feeling phones you will ever have the privilege of getting your hands on if you do have one. I know a lot of people think that the thickness or thinness is kind of overblown, but let me just tell you, this thing feeling like a normal phone in terms of thickness, in terms of weight, makes it feel much more comfortable in your pocket and in your hand. It does matter. There is a reason that when I hand this thing to somebody and then they open it up, universally, when they open it, they go, "Oh my God," or they say something like that. They are shocked at how this device feels. The inner screen is gigantic, and that's great. The outer screen looks good as well. I have seen no real signs of wear and tear except for on my cover display, and this is something that I talked about already, and I'll quickly mention again here. This device does come with this case in the box, and I actually think it's a pretty solid case, but it does have one small problem that I think is kind of worth mentioning. This phone did ship with a cheap plastic screen protector on it, but I ended up taking it off because it was messing with the polarization of my prescription sunglasses, making it difficult to use outside with my sunglasses on. So I peeled that screen protector off, and then unfortunately, this case resulted in some small scratches accumulating on my outer screen. Probably hard to see, but right there where my thumb is, you can see at least one, maybe a handful of very, very fine scratches. Basically, what's happening is when you're opening up this phone with this case on, any sort of small particulate can get caught underneath this magnetic bit and will basically drag back and forth across your screen. Now, I made a video talking about this, how what I did is I took a little Dremel tool and I removed some material there so that whenever this thing is open like this now, there's a very small gap. Hopefully you can see that now. There's a small gap there between the phone screen and that cover display. And even though I do think that fixed my problem, I got to admit, I've just been using this thing with no case at all for the last week or so because this back is actually like not grippy, but it's not as slippery as a normal phone either. And I just really love how thin this thing feels. It feels so good in your hand that having a case on it almost detracts from it. So I've just been going no case, and it seems like it's totally fine. I showed you the edges already. No real wear and tear there other than what the case did on that cover display, which is a bummer, but definitely not the end of the world. On this inner screen, I expect that we will start to see accumulations of micro scratches where my thumb goes. That just always happens. You can see what that crease does look like now. It is still very narrow, and it's also very shallow, and you're only going to see it with the screen off or having it pointed at, direct glare like you're seeing right now. Otherwise, yeah, guys, the hardware is immaculate. Honestly, comparing it to the Z Fold 6, the OnePlus Open, the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, none of them really even approach this thing's hardware. In terms of software, things are very, very good as well. Boundless View is excellent, whether you know it as Boundless View or as Open Canvas on the OnePlus Open. It's absolutely excellent. Unfortunately, back in the middle part of March, around the 14th and 15th, there was actually a really, really bad severe weather outbreak here in the United States. A little bit further west of me, got hit really hard. I'm a big weather nerd, so I was following this stuff very closely, and Boundless View was amazing. At one point, I had Ryan Hall y'all's live stream going where he was providing, very detailed analysis of what was going on. I also had my own radar app open down here below where I was able to be kind of zooming in and looking at things myself. And I also had a weather feed over on social media showing photos and videos and things like that, jumping from thing to thing to thing. Man, what an absolutely incredible thing to be able to do on a device like this that is this thin and this light, and it does it so smoothly and so performantly. It's just hard to beat. I will also say that the camera system has grown on me a little bit. It's still not my favorite, but it has grown on me, and I will not deny that. If you jump into your settings and you go to preserve settings, you're looking for exposure settings. Turn that on. What's going to happen is if you change your exposure settings, the next time you open up the camera app, it's going to keep them. And what I did is I went to these exposure settings and I went to minus 0.3, and all that does is it just brings down that exposure just a little bit, because my biggest problem with this camera is that it just likes to take any sort of darkness or any kind of shadow and erase it. It likes to just illuminate it like crazy. So this pulls it back just a little. And while it's still not my favorite foldable camera, in particular with that tele macro, you can get some really, really nice shots on this phone. We went for a short hike the other day. It's starting to get warm here. Spring is beginning to feel like summer already, which is a little bit strange. And it was a perfectly solid camera experience. I was able to get some really nice shots. It delivers colorful, detailed, if not a little bit crunchy looking photos as this kind of clears up. It's fine, right? You're not going to be upset that this is the camera that is in your pocket. And when you're talking about zoom, the ability to do this is kind of insane, right? Like that's kind of a crazy thing to be able to do with a phone that is in your pocket. So no massive complaints here. The camera has grown on me. One thing about the camera that hasn't grown on me that is a little bit annoying is the fact that you cannot double click your power button to launch your camera on this phone. It just isn't a thing. They do give you the option to double click a volume button to launch your camera when the screen is off. So if it's already unlocked, it doesn't work. But what you're supposed to be able to do is double click that volume key and it's supposed to lock or open up the camera. But as you can see, it just doesn't work for me a lot of the time. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But like the point of a quick gesture to open up your camera is that you're supposed to be in a spot where it's like, I got to get my camera out really quickly. So you pull it out and you do the thing and there's your camera. With this, I pull it out, I do the thing and nothing happens. And then I miss the shot, right? So kind of defeats the purpose, and that is frustrating. And as you can see here, yes, quick launch is enabled. It's supposed to be on, but it just doesn't work for me a lot of the time. Something else that is kind of driving me a little bit crazy, I've gotten used to using the global search where you pull down and then there is a search that pops up. But as you can see, it's already going to show you the problem that's driving me crazy. The last thing that I typed in was radar to open up either Radar Scope or Radar Omega, and it is still in there. So what happens to me all the time is I will swipe down, I will start to type the app that I need. Let's say it's going to be Threads, and now I have Radar Threads, and it doesn't know what to do. I pull it down, I type, and I go, and I got to hit the X, and then I type what I need to type. As soon as you select an app, that should just clear out. Why does the text stay in there? I'll show you. So I'm going to type in Threads. We're going to launch Threads. Let's go home. Let's swipe down to search. And there is Threads again. This time it's highlighted, which means if I start to type something else, it will erase it and you will continue. That also will work just fine. But as you just saw a moment ago, it wasn't highlighted that time. It was just cursor at the end. I would have continued typing. So it's an inconsistent behavior. Similar to the double click the volume to launch the camera, it's inconsistent. Something weird is going on. And there are a few rough edges like that on the Oppo Find N5. I will say another high point for this thing continues to be the battery life. As you can see here, I am at 68% battery, and I have 3 hours and 3 minutes of screen on time going, and I actually started the day at 92% because I took it off the charge at some point in the middle of the night. And for me, that means we are very much on track for a very, very good day. Now, I know that screen on time is not like the end all be all metric, but in order to really explain what the battery life is, you have to look at that day and each individual app usage. What were you doing? Background tasks, on and on and on. So we use screen on time as sort of a generalization. And what I'll tell you is generally the battery life has been outstanding. And if you do start to run a little bit low, drop it on the charger. It's got super VOOC charging. One is like 80-watt charging or something like that. It tops off insanely fast. So it does have very solid battery life. It's better than the Z Fold 6 was for me. It's better than the OnePlus Open was, and it's better than the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. Overall, that's kind of where I'm at, guys. The battery life is great. The hardware is great. The screens are great. The camera is absolutely fine. And with a little bit of a settings tweak, it's grown on me. The tele macro is amazing. I do still wish that some of the software polish was better. There are some rough, inconsistent edges, but Boundless View is amazing. I do wish that the speakers were just a little bit louder and that they weren't both on the left side of the device, which drives me crazy. But by and large, the Oppo Find N5 continues to be an excellent device, and there is a reason that I have been leaving my SIM in there. And, part of that is my fear of using my Pixel Fold after the hardware failures that I've experienced. Have to admit that. But I'm not like upset using this phone, right? It's not like I'm thinking, man, I wish I could just go back to my Pixel. Nope, I'm fine. This is a fantastic, phenomenal device, and it is an absolute shame that OnePlus did not brand it as the OnePlus Open 2 and bring it to North America, because I think that most of you would have probably ended up buying it, and you probably would have ended up loving it because it is simply that good of a device 1 month in. Those are my thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think if you've had the device for that month as well. How is it holding up for you? I'll see you in those comments. Subscribe for more content just like this, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.